Is everybody ready to say hello to Speaker Jim Jordan? Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington from crooksandliars.com. And it's really been an awful week as the three of us have been talking before we turned the camera on and started recording this. But I think should start by sending in the clowns instead of the really terrible parts of what's been happening.
And it's been such a nice day.
Oh, God.
You had to go bring Jim
Jordan just won the nomination after Steve Scalise withdrew.
Which was shocking, but not shocking yesterday.
Can someone explain to me why he withdrew if he had more support than Jim Jordan?
Because he didn't have 217. Here's the problem.
But neither does Jim Jordan.
No, he does not.
Jim Jordan will not have 217 either. And so he will drop out too. And then it will go to the next. I mean, in the next and the next and the next until somebody gets a clue that the only way that they're going to get anyone sane, and I do mean sane, as Speaker of the House, is to possibly come and do some deals with Democrats. You know?
Yeah. And can I tell you how I want to strangle the people who were saying, well, what have the Democrats offered? And I'm like, no. I know. It's okay. It's okay, Karoli. That's not how it works.
Stand the rules. Don't pay attention. I mean, we should do a better job of civics education in this country.
Yeah.
Well, we start with the people that are supposed to be actually educating us, like media. Okay, so we had David fucking Gregory who crawled out from under the rocks.
Karoli was the first one.
Well, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. David
I don't either.
The first
kind of shocked,
Meet the Press host after Tim Russert died.
God.
And I remember when he left thinking, well, Chuck Todd can't be worse. And
yeah.
You had to say that.
Fortunately, we haven't had to hear Chuck Todd offer an opinion about this, but we have David Gregory, who is like waiting for the Dems. What is his exact quote? Let's see if we can find it real quick, and we'll read it to you. But yeah, so it is, I actually have my eye on Democrats. How long are Democrats going to stand by in the world of identity politics and zero-sum politics and not be part of any solution? He wondered.
Where?
He wondered.
What process is he looking at to come to that conclusion? And can we just get rid of this term identity politics? It doesn't mean anything.
I haven't heard that in a long time, frankly.
Well, it's like Karoli said, he crawled out from under a rock that he's been hiding under for 10 years.
Yeah, I like that.
Blaming the Democrats for this.
And he started by blaming Washington.
Washington. That's
maybe that's why he hasn't
been
around for years.
Congress is in chaos. No,
right.
The Republicans, the House Republicans, are in chaos.
This is where I'd like to remind him and everybody else who comments, because there were others that also did the same thing, that the Democrats have 212 votes for speaker, one person for speaker, which is more than any Republican has.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We
need
five Republicans, we can have 217, boom, we're done. Right? Hakeem Jeffries.
So with those 5 Republicans would be done too.
Yeah, you know what? At least they'd be following, like honoring their oath to, to serve instead of.
And there are 12 from purple districts.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they're going to lose anyway, those guys.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like Fran called David Gregory basically an AI bot at this point. Which I think is giving him a lot of credit, because I don't think there's
AI does a better job than David Gregory.
So, but it wasn't just him. I mean, yesterday we had what's her name? The new Meet the Press host,
Kristen Welker.
She's doing Meet the Press now?
Huh?
Kristen Welker is doing Meet the Press now?
Yeah, she took over for Chuck Todd.
It's been about a month.
Where have I been?
Yeah. So she told Henry Mitchell very earnestly yesterday that Democrats are standing in the way of us having a speaker.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What?
And I'm like, so basically, if Democrats are divided on something, it's Democrats' fault. And if Democrats are united on something and Republicans are divided, it's Democrats'
It's Democrats' fault.
It's always
because we can't fix the Republicans.
Right.
They shit the bed, and we can't fix their problems. We haven't changed the sheets for them yet.
Right. And clean them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to point out that the Democrats are very much in array right now.
Yes, they are. They are in array. So let's review what's happened this week. So Kevin McCarthy gets kicked out last week, and they all go home instead of doing anything because there's party people that don't, they're like mad at everybody. So, okay, fine. So they come back this week and
they do a flounce.
And they nominate Steve Scalise, but by a majority of the minority, a majority of the majority, I guess, which is their rule, right? Yeah. So he gets 113. He needed 111, I think. Anyway, he gets 113.
But this is by secret ballot just within their conference.
Right, secret ballot. And then can't get to 217. There's like nobody, people are coming up with really dumb excuses like blaming his cancer, things like that.
Wasn't that a Marjorie Taylor Greene thing?
Yeah, he has cancer. He shouldn't be Speaker of the House. He needs to fight his cancer. I'm like, there's a lot of evil arguments, but that one was really bad.
Pretty low.
I know. And then Jim Jordan says, I won't whip, if it's Steve Scalise, and then goes behind his back and basically tells everybody that Scalise spent all this money at the Capitol Club, dining with lobbyists and blah, blah, blah. And so
his record is so pure.
Oh, well, yeah. Nobody wants to eat with Jim Jordan. Let's get serious.
That's true. That's true. He can say, I'm so unpopular, nobody has dined with me.
Right. So Scalise drops out yesterday, and today they meet again, and they do another secret ballot, and Jordan gets like 124. So he's now nominated, but he also won't get to 217. He just won't. There's no way he's going to get to 217. And then I don't know what they do. They just go down. Here's the thing. This might be funny, and it might be fun to watch if there wasn't a bunch of crises going on right now. And countdown clock.
Tragedy of it all.
Government shutdown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And everything. So, my bright idea, which nobody seems to think is very bright or good, is reinstate Kevin fucking McCarthy, right? Put him back in there. He had 214, right? Get him back in there because he at least knows the national security stuff, right? He's been read into it, right? Yeah. And we need that right now. And we need somebody who's actually willing to get Democratic votes to pass some stuff.
But Karoli, he indicated that he would return to it.
I know, but they're not. They're not gonna. Good night, Kevin. He would do it, but they're not gonna do it. They're so messed up that they're
so petty.
Yeah,
they're such children.
Yeah. So
this is all because Gates,
right?
Is,
it's all because of
Gates
Trump.
Well, that too.
It's Trump. It's the fact that they've purged themselves of any moderate voices. Mm-hmm. The whole thing that started, back when W was president, and they had to get rid of all the rhinos, and they purged everybody that wasn't, they just went farther and farther and farther to the extreme until now they've got a bunch of nihilistic performance artists who think that the only purpose to be in Congress is to do media hits on Fox and raise money.
Right.
That's
their go and guest host. Yeah. Matt Gaetz is a guest host on Newsmax.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That should not be.
No.
So that is allowed? in congressional, like
Apparently.
I don't think Nancy Pelosi would allow it if Democrats were in charge, but apparently they let everything ride if it's Republicans. I don't know what else to say.
But,
It's
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no congressional rule. Like, there are ethics rules.
Oh yeah, ethics.
No. I know. No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there are certain aren't there certain violations? Like, they're not allowed to, let's say, accept. There are certain things for which they can be either, like, censured or charged or brought, like, expelled from the House for doing, like, like, there's the Hatch Act for certain government. There are certain regulations, and so there's no, like, there's something that what I'm asking is, there nothing written anywhere that prohibits a member of Congress from also being a member of the press, or like, hosting a political TV show. Like,
apparently not.
I guess there's not, which is, like, astonishing to me. Like,
agreed. I mean, there's a line there that is being crossed routinely that shouldn't be crossed, and I agree with you. I mean, I just think it's wild that.
I mean, there's no FEC thing. There's no.
I mean, you have Ted Cruz hosting podcasts. You have, I mean, on our side, I think we have some podcasts too, but.
Oh yeah, but
I mean, that's kind of a campaign function, I would think.
Yeah, I think you could, as long as you're not, like, putting advertising on them.
As long as you're not doing the podcast from your congressional office.
Right. Well, there's that.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little murky on, like, where the line is.
It's murky.
Yeah, it's super murky.
Yeah,
like, what's the difference between being a guest and being a host
right.
on a cable TV show? I mean, there should be some difference there, but apparently, I mean,
like, I would think he would get paid for hosting a Newsmax show, wouldn't he?
I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
but if you are a news organization who gets all of your editorial content from party talking points, what's the difference between having those talking points delivered by an elected official?
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. So here we are in the middle of this nightmare, and Jim Jordan is. I'm just going to say, if Jim Jordan,
directionist speaker.
Well, he's not going to. Well, that's the thing. Like, who's he?
He's not going to be speaker.
He's not going to be
not
speaker.
No.
How?
Better not.
And I mean, we're going to continue to be speakerless next week.
For one thing, he wouldn't be the speaker; he'd be the shouter.
He would be the shouter. Right?
Sure.
He doesn't know how to speak.
In the house.
And
no question about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know. How long was the extension? Like, when's the government set to shut down again? Is it
November 17th?
November 17th, not November.
Yeah, it was a 45-day extension 2 weeks ago.
45. Okay, so November 17th.
Right. So
we have a month, basically, a little over a month.
So one reporter says, one Republican told me Jordan can use the weekend to win over votes. Then I turned off my recorder and asked again about Jordan's chances. No, he can't win, was the quick answer. So, I mean, so I guess they're not going to, like, keep this up over the weekend. They're going to come back on Monday.
Well, you don't want to ask them to work weekends, Karoli. What's the matter with you?
I mean, did you see Jasmine Crockett's tweet yesterday about how Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to do was go home and get ammo?
I fucking love her.
No,
I mean, Jasmine Crockett, I love Jasmine Crockett.
I just am not much on Twitter anymore.
In case there was any question there.
Yeah, I gotta find that one.
So I'm looking for it now. Jasmine Crockett has, for a newbie, has really developed into quite the representative.
Oh, you would have known that. Just watching her when she was, in the Texas Senate, just watching her. She was fantastic. Okay, so here we go. This is her day 3 speaker vote report. Here is your update. 1, Marjorie Taylor Greene is complaining that we aren't on the floor voting and would prefer to go home so that she can get some more ammo. Because we members are about to go to war. Maybe their caucus is. So confusing.
Okay.
And then she's got other points too. But, that thing about the ammo just really stuck out to me because what the hell?
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And one of the Republicans, I can't remember who it was actually, there was a couple of them that said this. Oh, Brendan Buck, who used to be Paul Ryan's chief of staff,
Right.
said basically Republicans just don't know how to govern. They should always be in the minority. I mean, that's all they know how to do is obstruct. Now they're obstructing themselves, right? Because there's no Democrats.
Well, they're doing what they're good at,
Yeah. And I really feel like, every American in every district ought to know just how bad this is. So, I mean, I at this point, I can't help but bring in the crises that we have. We have Israel at war with Hamas. We have Ukraine still at war, and we'll talk more about Israel's war. But for now, these are national security emergencies, both of them. We need Ukraine funding, and we need emergency funding to help Israel as well.
And we have to make sure our government doesn't shut down.
And we have to make sure the government doesn't
shut down. All of these things.
And don't forget, over on the Senate side, the holdup on military appointments. The Mideast military appointments are being held up by Tuberville. And I guess Rand Paul held up a U.S. ambassador to Israel. So you've got State Department ones being held up by Rand Paul.
Right. And there's a bunch of ambassadors that aren't there because of this. So all of this is happening, and God forbid, that, let's say Russia or China sees a vulnerability here and says, you know what, let's just start World War III. Why not? Right. Yeah. And everything. We don't have the capability right now today to declare war. I mean, I'm not saying I want war. I'm saying we don't have the ability to do it.
If we're attacked,
right.
War is declared by Congress.
Our Congress doesn't have the ability to respond.
So their stakes are pretty high here. I mean, it's kind of fun to sit back and watch them implode, but really, this is serious. This is last weekend when Hamas attacked Israel. The only person from the House that was in the briefings was Hakeem Jeffries, because he was the only one. There was no Speaker of the House there for so there was a gang of 7 instead of a gang of 8. I mean, these things are serious, and they should be taken seriously and not be made into a clown show the way that Republicans are doing it right now.
Well, so you elect clowns, this is what you get. They've been electing clowns. They gerrymandered their damn districts so that reasonable people don't get elected.
Right. And the Supreme Court appears to be poised to let that keep going for some reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that if the argument on South Carolina is any indication, they don't want to say that there's racial gerrymandering anywhere.
Yeah.
Even though clearly there was in Alabama. And one good piece of news is that Alabama now has a second majority Black district as a result of that decision.
But that wasn't a Supreme Court decision, though, right? That was
it was a Supreme Court decision because they sent the maps back.
They sent it back,
right, saying you have to make a two majority Black districts. And then Alabama said, really? Well, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make one like we had it. And the court said no and appointed a special master to redraw the maps. And they appealed to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, no, what part of you need to draw 2 districts, 2 majority Black districts? Did you misunderstand? So they upheld that one. But the one in South Carolina, which is, by the way, Nancy Mace's district, and we can talk about Nancy Mace, they gerrymandered it so that there's only one majority Black district in South Carolina. and then this went to the Supreme Court, and the conservatives on the Supreme Court were looking for every excuse possible not to say that it was a racial gerrymander.
Right. Because they previously ruled that, partisan gerrymanders are perfectly fine.
Fine. Right.
So never mind that most of the Black people in a district will vote for Democrats, as long as it's a partisan gerrymander.
Right.
So how is that different from the Alabama situation? Was it not a gerrymander situation? Or?
No, so the Alabama situation was a racial gerrymander. They ruled that it was a racial gerrymander. So,
and they're trying to say that
in the South Carolina situation, yeah, they're trying to say that it wasn't.
I think there was more evidence that it was done.
Apparently Clyburn said some things he shouldn't have said, because they were using Clyburn's words against him. So that was part. I haven't read the transcript yet. I'm actually kind of waiting for the audio to come out, and then I'll listen to the audio arguments. But I mean, from those who were following along or in the court
in real time,
it was bad. I mean, it's not looking good at all. It's looking like a 6-3 decision to uphold their maps. So that'll suck. Yeah, and Nancy Mace, who shouldn't be holding any office because she's another attention-seeking whack job. Worm is good. We like Worm. Yeah,
I didn't say worm. I said whore.
Oh.
Because she will say whatever she thinks the audience wants to hear on whatever TV show.
She her own sidewalk to get elected, right? To blame, so she could blame the mystery Antifa for eating her sidewalk and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, she's awful.
She's horrid,
and she likes to come off as being moderate for some reason. Mainstream media calls her moderate, but then she gets on the right-wing shows and she's just as bad as the others, Well,
so because hasn't she at times spoken up for abortion rights?
Yes, right. Sort of.
That's why, sort of.
Yeah, sort of, but then she doesn't actually.
She has a forked tongue. Yeah.
So she goes on TV on CNN, Jake Tapper's show this week, and says, "I know Democrats that trust Jim Jordan." And Jake Tapper's like, "Really? You know Democrats? Did you say Democrats?"
He said Jim Jordan from Ohio.
It was seriously one of the funniest moments.
It was a really funny moment
in other, not funny times. So credit to Jake Tapper for that. That was good.
Yeah, that was a rare humorous moment.
It was. But yeah, so anyway, that's the state of the Republican Party, which is pathetic and at this point, anti-American, subservient to Trump,
subservient to Putin. Putin talking points.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Right. So anyway, that's.
And then you had Ron DeSantis declaring some kind of state of emergency to help Israel in Florida. It made no sense at all.
The guy who doesn't even blink at the Nazis waving swastika flags, and
Oh yeah, but see, all those people now, they're supporting their Jewish constituents.
Oh right? Yeah, they love us. Yeah, they're our friends.
Yeah. Okay. Before we leave the house behind, this is 1 minute old. This is from Jake Sherman.
Oh, okay. I'm bracing myself.
Jordan flames out spectacularly.
Ooh.
Appropriations Republicans and HASC. I don't know what is that? House something. I don't know what that is. Anyway, HASC Appropriations Republicans forming coalition to block Jordan's speakership.
Oh God.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's what Karoli was saying. No, we will not have Speaker Jim Jordan, which is a good thing.
And and Elise Stefanik keeps tweeting every time they nominate somebody. So yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, she says, "Congratulations, speaker designate at Steve Scalise," and then the next one is, "Congratulations, speaker designate Jim Jordan."
Such a suck up.
Somebody has them both in the same tweet
I
and
think
says,
her
"I'm collecting these
position,
like infinity stones."
you just have to give her some pom-poms, you know? 'Cause she's
Right?
the leader.
I know she really is.
What a suck
So
up.
yeah, and the thing is, she knows better too. She's not stupid.
She's not
She
dumb.
knows
She's
better.
just going where the wind blows.
She's
She's
another Harvard graduate.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so yeah, Jordan's gonna go down in flames, and
we still
then who will be next? It'll be the guy in the bow tie. That's
they're talking about expanding his temporary powers so that they can at least get votes done.
They need to get votes done. They need to get, they need to get a lot of shit done.
What is that guy's name? I want to say
Patrick
Frederickson,
McHenry.
but that's
McHenry.
Patrick McHenry.
Yeah,
I
bow
don't
tie
know.
guy.
Bow
And he's
tie
got
guy who wouldn't let Nancy Pelosi keep her office.
right. Well, that was at Kevin
That was
McCarthy's
Kevin.
behest. I think
That
Kevin
was
McCarthy
Kevin.
took over that office, by the way.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So anyway, stay tuned. Next week we'll have another installment in our House of Representatives.
As our House of Representative
very
turns.
messed up house.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Rebuilding our house.
Let's see.
So,
Bob Menendez.
oh my God.
Also been charged now.
Can he please resign? What the fuck?
Being a foreign agent for Egypt while serving as head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He absolutely needs to resign.
Yesterday. Like every day I put this out on Mastodon, right? Today is a good day for Bob Menendez to resign. I mean, he was the head, you guys, of the Foreign Relations Committee.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's going to jail.
It's going to jail, and he should just get the hell out of there while there's a Democratic governor who can appoint his replacement.
I agree. Also,
and when and Filmer, Senator Fetterman has called for him to resign. I don't know if other senators have joined the call.
There's
he his gold bars and run. Just get out of there.
I read something yesterday that said that he's just waiting to try to bargain for the best deal he can make if he resigns and doesn't ever run for office again. Like kind of like what Agnew did.
Yeah.
A deal with who? The DA?
Yeah. With the U.S. Attorney
Department.
U.S. Attorney.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
I don't think that protects his wife. She's just as bad as he is.
Just as bad.
If not worse. So, yeah. So anyway.
Well, yeah, I think we've put everything off.
Santos has some more. Santos have some more charges?
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He's another one that needs to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason they're holding on to him is because they have such a slim majority that if they lose him,
they can't afford to.
They can't afford to lose it. That's why they're hanging on. And he is just.
Talk about another attention whore.
Oh my God. So right before we started this podcast, right, he had this big, huge fit in the hall and went after a guy over, Israel, Hamas. And the guy was asking basically pretty reasonable, straightforward questions, right? I mean,
not about Israel and Hamas, by the way, not about the war. He was asking him questions about something else.
Is Santos still pretending to be Jewish again?
Well, Santos. So apparently Santos made it about that. I'm not sure.
He was asking him something else. He might have been asking him about, I think, either the speaker vote or his indictments or whatever. And he took issue with the reporter who was asking the question because the reporter had said something about in a different either, I don't know if it was in a different press conference or he had written something or tweeted something about, that Palestinian lives were, innocent Palestinians were going to be lost as a result of the blockade in Gaza and blah, which is true.
Right.
And so Santos, in an attempt to divert attention from what he was being asked at the moment, he went off. He didn't answer the question, and he went off on this absurd, Israel Palestine, Israel Hamas rant.
Right.
Just
and
to
it
try
was
to.
it was very, in fact, we have a post coming up about this. As soon as we're done with the podcast, I'll probably put it up. It was performative. I mean, I'm sorry, it
Completely.
was
It was
so
so easy to
over
see
the top that it was like, and reporters bit, right? I mean, they went for it because he
They were
was
like, what?
making
What?
fuss.
What did you say? Come back, George. What did you say? What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, and
When
I
were
mean,
you
it was
holding a
just,
baby? How dare he say that to me when I'm holding a baby? He was
oh
absolutely.
yeah, he was holding a
What was
baby.
the baby?
Yeah, and we don't.
Why
Who knows
would
what
anybody
the
let George
baby.
Santos hold a baby?
So he had a baby, and somebody asked, who is the baby? Is it yours? And he said, not yet. Oh, come on.
I didn't even know that part.
You better be careful because, he's
Don't
stealing.
let George hold your baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't, because the next thing you know, it'll be his. He'll take it. I mean, he just takes stuff he wants that he wants, you know? So, I mean, the guy is such a fabulous and such a liar and so the new charges that are against him are like scary bad. They're credit card fraud, where he apparently just like debited $50,000 from somebody's credit
From
card to,
donors. Yeah.
from donors. And the loan, we still don't know about the $500,000 loan. We don't
Right.
know where, if it came from where he says it came from, it's illegal. But let's be real. There's no way he had $500,000. So who backed the loan? Because there
Right.
was actual real money that went
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. But
So yeah,
that's a mystery that has yet to be solved. I think we're going to have to talk now about
the elephant in the room.
the elephant in the room. Yeah.
Yeah,
Camel in the room.
The camel. Yeah.
yeah.
So, I know that you guys feel much the way I do. My heart just hurts.
It's awful. I mean, what happened last Saturday is awful. It's something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Honestly, I thought we were moving into a different place, like where we were maybe going to have some peace. I mean, there's been times in my life where I've said, "There's no way this is thousands of years old. This conflict, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be peace." And then there's other times, and one was recently, where I thought maybe we can, maybe there's a way, and yet here we are. And I mean, the worst attack since what, 1948, right? I mean, it's awful.
The more Jewish people were massacred on Saturday, the most since the Holocaust, in one day since the Holocaust.
Yeah, I mean, I was just shocked to my core. I mean, there was not anything I could even say other than that I'm just so sorry that this happened. But, and why? I don't know why. I kept asking that question, why? Why would they do this now? What, and I
Well,
don't have an answer to that. I don't think any of us have an answer to
Because
that.
they could.
because they
Right.
could.
They
Pretty much.
did it now because they could. They did it now
They had the
because the
resources.
Israeli government was distracted. They did it
Right.
now
Thanks,
because,
Bibi.
Bibi Netanyahu was not keeping the people safe, which was his main, reason that people were voting, kept him in office.
That's what he campaigned on.
That's what he campaigned on. The the security on the walls don't
Work. They don't.
They cut right through that wall, and they
Yep.
bulldozed right through that.
And they
And
paraglided.
resources were diverted. Yeah, he was too busy creating settlements in places where they don't belong.
Yeah.
And guarding those.
Yeah.
Instead of the southern border. And it didn't. I am sure that our problems didn't help because the US is messed up. We're distracted. We're already fighting over what aid we're giving to Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
They did it because they could. And the thing is that we are learning that there was intelligence, that this was imminent, and we don't know why Bibi either never got those reports or never paid attention to it. Sounds a lot like W at 9/11.
It does sound a lot like that. And I felt like when I first heard it, I was actually pretty surprised by it. And then I started thinking about it in the larger context of his sort of overall philosophy to enable Hamas in order to settle the West Bank, figuring that would hamper all the peace accords, because as long as Hamas was enabled, there wouldn't be any peace. Right. And so but it wouldn't be his fault because so I was very interested to see that so many people blame him for this. I mean, I think he should be, but
after 40 weeks of protest against his corruption,
yeah,
I think that a great number of the Israeli people know what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that protest spanned so many different segments of the Israeli population, across political spectrums, and age and professional. You had army, you had military people protesting. You had, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
It was vast, the protesting.
And that also weakened the military.
That also weakened the military.
Right.
So Netanyahu has done nothing but harm for that country.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partly, I mean, that's a large part of why he's so much to blame for that. Not that Hamas is not to blame for this, but he certainly set the stage. He handed Gaza up to them on a silver platter.
And Aliza, what we've been, Karoli and I were before you got here, and Karoli and I were talking, we can hold multiple thoughts in our head at one time.
Can. Yes. And we must.
We have to. The brutality of Hamas's attack is horrendous. The living conditions of your average Palestinian living in Gaza are horrendous.
Yep.
Innocent people on both sides are going to die. Have died. There's more going to die. That's what Hamas, that was part of Hamas's plan.
Yeah. It serves Hamas.
It serves Hamas. It serves those who do not want there to be peace. It serves those who want to obliterate the Jewish state.
Yep. I just saw this breaking news thing that came across at 5:15. Came across my phone. NBC News has an exclusive that top secret Hamas documents show that terrorists intentionally targeted elementary schools and a youth center. The maps and documents recovered from the bodies of Hamas attackers reveal a coordinated plan to target children and take hostages inside an Israeli village near Gaza.
Well, these people beheaded babies.
So see, now is that true? I hesitate. I mean, I know they killed babies, and what the hell is the difference, really?
I'm hearing that from U.S. government people saying that they saw the pictures, the photos. I personally won't look at any of the photos.
I won't either, and I don't really understand why. Like yesterday, every cable news network was showing a photo of a dead infant.
Yeah,
and they were warning ahead of time. But
they were warning.
Why are you showing that at all? I believe it. I don't need to have to.
Well, you believe
but
it.
you know what? Not everybody does.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm seeing. I don't think it's for prurient reasons. I believe that a lot of people don't believe what we're saying.
Yeah.
And it's and we're being questioned about this, saying that, the beheading of babies hasn't happened. And I understand that beheading a baby, killing a baby is, in a terror attack is as bad as beheading a baby. Again, what the hell is the difference? But it raises the temperature. It raises the temperature of the conversation. And for some people, it might push them over the edge to feel justified in the fact that what Israel is doing right now, as of 3 hours ago, when the tanks started rolling into Gaza, when the ground war began, it might make them feel a little bit better about the innocent Palestinian lives that are about to be lost. And personally, I don't want to contribute, if it isn't true, I don't want to contribute to anybody feeling better about anybody's innocent life being taken. So, again, is it quibbling over something minor to ask if it's true that babies were beheaded rather than just shot?
It's quibbling.
I don't know. I don't know how to handle this kind of rhetoric, because we're talking about fucking shooting babies.
I was going to say, and in the end,
and what they're doing is Nazi-like.
Yes, right.
What they are doing, the torture that they have been inflicting, is Nazi-like. The taking of the live streaming of grandmothers with dementia.
Yeah.
And before murdering them on their Facebook live feed, the grandmother's Facebook live feed, so that their family has to see it, is Nazi level torture. And this is not. I mean, it's unfathomable to me. And what I find so difficult about this is the number of people, Jews included, who continue to equivocate their horror and their sympathies. Of course, that happens with the caution to me that, well, things are really bad for the Palestinians, though. As if that justifies what Hamas has done. And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
As if that somehow mitigates the grief I should be feeling. No. Or as if I should, in my moment of like abject distress, I should be forced to consider my role somehow, or Israel's role in what happened. What I mean, when you are talking to a woman who has just been savagely raped, do you go to her and say, yeah, but you know what, you really are kind of an asshole?
or you dressed a little bit too suggestively,
or you dress too suggestively or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, and say, you know, but think about how this is going to affect, you know, think about the things you've been doing to that person. You kind of have been an asshole to that person. Do you do that? That's
No.
what they sound like. And that's what this sounds like to me. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I speak out against, you know, the brutality of the of the IDF against the Palestinians. I know it exists. I don't want it to.
Right.
But, you know, like in my moment of like abject horror, you're going to come to me with that shit? No, I'm sorry. Come to me with unequivocal sympathy at the moment.
Right.
Okay. These, you know, I don't want to hear it. Don't put that on me. This is Hamas.
I would
and also I want to make another point, because this, first of all, doesn't go back 70 years. This goes back 2,000 years, 3,000 years. Name me a time. I'm going to say more than two things, but 2 points I want to make. Name me a time when Jews weren't refugees. Name me a time when we were safe in one place, where we weren't at risk of being thrown out of our homes. In Turkey, in Spain, in Egypt, in Germany, in Europe.
We actually lived pretty peacefully in Turkey during the Ottoman Empire.
Okay, so you named me one time.
You know,
we
were refugees. We were
there?
refugees. And at the breakup of the Ottoman Empire, that's when my family all scattered around the world and many ended up here.
Right, because they didn't want us, did they?
We were, again, you know, Jews and Muslims in the Middle East were able to live side by side for centuries. But
well, the other thing I'm going to say is, name me a time when we have had, since Israel was founded,
there's been no time
that, you know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
That we've ever had a reliable partner in peace.
Nope.
On the Palestinian side.
Nope.
That we haven't come to the table willing to negotiate, willing to give up land, willing to, you know, that we've ever had somebody who didn't have it in their charter that they wanted us wiped from the face of the earth, or that they didn't.
That has never existed. And every time we got close to something like that, the leader was assassinated.
Right. So
because there are people who have stakes in keeping this horrible cycle going. And that's who Hamas is. And that's who Bibi is.
Right. That's who Bibi is. And that's who Hezbollah is.
Yes.
And that's who ISIS is. That's these, you know, and, you know, again, and people who come to me and they say, well, just imagine this is what's happening after, you know, Hamas did this, but this is, you know, after all these years of being kept in an open air prison, and after all these, you know, years of you know, being, you know, treated like, you know, criminals and all this stuff. And I'm like, Jews didn't do this after the Holocaust. Did we go around beheading babies after the Holocaust?
No.
Did we go on these rampages, these murderous rampages, after we were thrown, you know, after the, you know, the Crusades? Did we do these things? No. Like, I'm just like, it's, and yet we're still being asked and blamed and told that like we can't even mourn. I don't know.
Well,
there you go. I've been holding it in because on social media it's very hard to have this conversation.
But That's exactly why we're having this conversation.
Social media, and I'm going to say Twitter in particular, X, shitter, whatever you call it these days, is toxic on this topic. And by the way, has been for.
I have found a few very empathetic, very in the Black community. And I've shared a lot of them on Facebook, and I've shared them on Twitter, and sometimes on Threads. I'm kind of like hopping around between the different ones.
Threads is getting more usable.
Yeah. That I find examples of really genuinely uplifting and comforting, soul calming expressions of whether it's solidarity or sorrow or I've shared those because I feel like it's important to amplify the people who are really just just doing it right.
Well, it's so complicated. It's hard to articulate.
It is hard to articulate. It's hard for me to articulate. I basically fell silent for most of the week. It was not been until maybe the last couple of days. And that silence isn't because, for me, it isn't because I didn't want to acknowledge the pain or the sorrow at all. It's because I didn't even have the words to do it. And I wanted to listen, I guess, like that's, and hear what you have to say, because obviously I live in your space. So the best I can do is to hear what you have to say. And so now I've started to try to do that a little more, because I think that some of the students at Harvard and some of the students at UCLA and some of the students at other universities around here need to hear you. I understand that students are passionate about what they're passionate about, but they really, I think, chose the wrong time to do what they're doing with regard to, standing in support of the Palestinians. This is not the right. First of all, we all understand that not all Palestinians are Hamas.
Right.
And not
that needs to be, it's never a bad time to say that.
Right.
That needs to be, especially now, because again, that's the Gaza Strip's going to be a parking lot by by Sunday night.
Yes, it will be.
It's I mean, and they are going to be refugees again. And if anything, Jews can understand what that feels like.
Right.
And it's terrible.
It is terrible.
And those children don't deserve it.
Right.
They were, I don't care how indoctrinated they've been already. They don't deserve the indoctrination either.
Right. And not all of them are Muslim. There's Palestinian Christians that live there. There's
but the cycle of violence continues.
And you're
gonna have a whole new generation
of radicalized
join Hamas.
Right.
And I don't know how to find justice. I mean, there is no justice, but I don't know how to make everybody safe again or ever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either, but I will say that I feel like our government, without mentioning the House, the president especially, has been very good in this moment.
He's been a very steady hand. I like what he says.
God.
My dog is snoring.
God, it's Joe Biden. We saw what Trump had to say the other night.
I was shocked. I didn't think
very, very smart.
I didn't think Trump could shock me, but he stood up there and said Hezbollah was smart.
Well, you know what? He got angry at Netanyahu for thanking Biden for helping.
Thanking Biden. There's billboards all over Israel thanking President Biden. He can't stand it. Meanwhile, thanks, Jared. You really fixed the Middle East for us,
Yeah, right?
What the hell? Maybe if Jared had fixed the Middle East like he was supposed to, we wouldn't have this problem.
Gotten $4 billion instead of $2 billion. We wouldn't have this problem.
I know. So, sorry, Trump, you're having a little hissy fit, but anyway.
Biden, on the other hand, has been a pretty steady hand on everything. He's been and Blinken
and Blinken too. And at the same time, Biden, in no uncertain terms, told Netanyahu, we're keeping our eye on you as you go into Gaza.
He's threading that needle.
He really is. He's saying, don't use this as an excuse.
Right.
To commit war crimes of your own. And in fact, but they're cutting off water. They're cutting off electricity. There's hospitals that aren't,
they're giving an hour to evacuate a hospital.
How do you do that? How do you evacuate a hospital in an hour? How do you evacuate your home in an hour?
You can't.
Let alone a hospital.
And then they did warn Palestinians before the carpet bombing or whatever it is they're doing was going to begin.
Yeah.
But, innocent people get caught up in it. And Hamas is telling them not to evacuate. And then, Hamas seemed very happy to announce that 70 civilians were killed evacuating. And I don't know if I trust that,
Yeah, I think you have to be skeptical about
I'm very skeptical of that. But at the same time, it's war.
Yeah, it is. It is war. And it was, he declared war right out of the gate, BB.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as this happened.
And that was the right thing to do because that was an act of war.
It was an act of war.
It was atrocities. It was
right. And I don't know where all this is going to end, but I don't know what it's going to be. But Egypt has not agreed, for example, to allow for a corridor for refugees out of Gaza.
They're allowing humanitarian supplies, though, right?
They are allowing humanitarian
supplies. There's a corridor. There's a safe corridor
for supplies.
Yeah.
But not for exit.
Not for people, because they don't want the people.
Yeah, Egypt doesn't want them either. So why is Israel the bad guy? I don't get it. I
don't either. I try as hard as I can to understand that whole region, and I never can wrap my head around it.
It's incomprehensible. It is so, like I said, it goes back 2,000 years. You're talking tribes. You're talking,
I know it goes back.
And we are not foreign policy experts, so we're not going to be able to unravel it.
Ordinary citizens who hurt for our friends in Israel. And there are, we all know people who
have friends in Gaza, our friends in Palestine, and we have friends there too.
Right. I have Palestinian Christian friends that live in Gaza, so it's hard to. It's like I guess I wish that we could find a way to get along without being so cruel and harsh and horrible to each other. And brutal and inhumane.
We can't even elect a Speaker of the House.
Well, we could do that.
We can.
You've got you've got performative assholes being horrible to people.
Yeah.
And making it impossible for progress to be made. And, it starts like that and it ends up like that. And
I don't know. You guys, but
we're not going to be able to get to the end of it here. I'm hoping that when we return next week, we have better news to talk about.
Maybe some hostages are back home.
That would be good.
Fingers crossed.
That would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is it. By the time this gets on, by the time you listen to it, more things will probably have occurred.
Will have happened.
And we'll talk about those next week.
And we'll talk about those next Friday on YouTube, MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, on a podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. We will be putting updates on our Facebook page. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills here with Karoli and Aliza, and we're saying goodbye for the MOMocrats.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody. MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.